the Bliss Business Podcast, the show about empathy, connection, and consciousness in business. Today's episode is brought to you by Zero Company, your paid search, social media, and programmatic ad experts.
Welcome back to the Bliss Business Podcast series, Marketing with Purpose. This is where we explore how to embed purpose into every level of your marketing. I'm Sakach here, again with my co-hosts Tullio, Siragusa, and Mike Liwski. Hey, guys.
Hey, Steve. Good to see you.
All right, good to be back. So today we're diving into a question every marketer faces. It's how do you measure ROI when you lead with purpose and emotional connection? So, the truth is, short-term metrics, they don't tell the whole story, but we're so often, just fixated with them. We kind of need to get over that. So traditional marketing ROI, it's often about, clicks, conversions, cost per lead. But here's the trap. Those are snapshots. They're not relationships. They don't reflect lifetime value. They don't reflect loyalty or advocacy. And that's kind of the problem with some of our traditional metrics.
And you know what? When you're just chasing quarterly numbers, you're likely optimizing just for short-term win. And that could come at the cost of eroding long-term trust. You might get a sale, but you might miss a chance to build a customer who sticks with you for years and brings their friends. I always felt like you could do quarterly objectives, just do it 1 year out. So you're long-term. That next quarter is long-term. Do all the work you need to do for that quarter you're at, not the one right now.
So then, a natural question arises, right? What is the value of this emotional connection? And so, here's where the research is really clear, right? Emotionally connected customers are worth more than one that is unemotionally connected, right? A Harvard Business Review study found that emotionally connected customers, they deliver upwards of 306% higher lifetime value than just a mere satisfied customer.
Yeah, and Mike, I was even looking earlier today, financial services, that number that Mike just mentioned, it spikes up to 800% higher lifetime value with emotional connection. That is huge. People are more likely to remember you and recommend you, right? Forgive your mistakes and try new products when you have that emotional connection. So it's not just brand love and building that, it's a business strategy. So when you can invest in connection, you're investing in retention, you're investing in advocacy and resilience.
And here's the moment of truth. When there's a downturn, people will cut back on brands they like, but they hold on to the ones they believe in. And that's the key thing. That's the ROI of purpose. It keeps you relevant even when the markets shift.
Yeah, so hopefully it's clear then, right? What is the value of this? So the next, what's the business case? Like, how can that be made in order to, be able to drive this way? So how do you sell this, of course, internally in your company? Frame emotional connection this way, right? It is the growth multiplier, right? It's not just a nice to have. Show your leadership that purpose-driven strategies, number one, reduce churn. 2, they increase share of wallet. 3, they will create organic word of mouth that you just can't get anywhere else or pay for.
Yeah, and you can also point to companies who play the long game, right? So look at REI. This is an example. They said no to Black Friday revenue with their opt-out side campaign. In the short term, what happened? They gave up some sales, but they built cultural capital. They built trust and long-term loyalty. This is because they're deeply aligned with that purpose. You don't make that kind of decision if you aren't aligned with the purpose. You're just like, hey, let's not do our best sales day of the year, probably, right? No. So if you're deeply aligned with your higher purpose, then your emotional connection, it's going to be for playing the long game. When you think about it, like Tullio mentioned, you don't want to be going quarter to quarter. You want to be thinking longer than that.
I mean, REI is a great example of that. They're all about living outdoors, enjoying the outdoors. So on the day where everybody's indoor, they told their employees, go outdoors, have fun on Black Friday. They're living it. So, and it's paid off big dividends for them. Another example is to think about is Apple. Their positioning around creativity and empowerment is emotional at its core. So, I mean, you think back to the days of the Mac. It wasn't even a superior product to the PC at the time, but if you were one of the quote unquote crazies or the creative types, you use the Mac. So they created a community of people, right? So and that connection lets them command even today premium pricing year after year because they build that strong bond with their community. And while their competitors are competing on features and functionalities, they're actually focused on that community and nurturing that community. So that's ROI with a long-term lens. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, and for Apple too, they got their whole ecosystem, right? You got a phone, you got your watch, maybe your laptop as well. So it does pay off.
People want simplicity. They don't need features. They want simplicity. That's paying off. That's empathetic, actually, the simplicity of it.
So how do we measure the ROI here? So here are a few ways to expand your metrics beyond the immediate sale. So customer lifetime value. We're always trying to get to this at our company and our agency. It's sometimes hard to nail down. Those clients, they're slippery. They don't want to give you those numbers sometimes, or they don't have them. They haven't even thought about it. Right. But going through that exercise, this is huge. Is you're tracking that customer lifetime value because that'll determine are emotionally engaged customers spending more over time. So that's one of them. Retention rates. How does your purpose-driven engagement reduce churn? That can be with your clients, right, or even your employees as well. Advocacy and referrals. This one's huge. Are people bringing others into the brand because of what you stand for? This is where you get that emotional connection. This is the kind of marketing you want, right? Is that word of mouth, people doing the marketing for you. And then brand equity. You can use surveys to track whether your brand is seen as meaningful, trusted, or inspiring. So all those methods.
Using those metrics for sure. So that's on the quant side. But it's important also to not forget the qualitative signals, right? The stories that people are telling or comments that they're making or even posts, right? The user-generated content is so key as we see in our day-to-day, right? The way employees talk about the company. Those are really all indicators of these softer signals, right? That you have got a connection that really turns into measurable outcomes later on.
And I think the biggest problem with ROI is that it's very focused on the assumption that everything's going to be on the up and up forever. And that's just not how life goes. That's not how business goes, right? You have downturns, you have changes, you have new competitive threats. So it's not just about efficiency. You have to measure ROI also on the resilience of your brand. A brand that's built on purpose weathers storms better than the one just built on transaction. And that's where you really want to measure it, is against, when everybody's struggling during a down market, is your brand doing well? And why is it doing well? Because it's investing in building those connections. It's not just transactional. So let's think about Nike, right? The backlash they had after featuring Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, Colin Kaepernick. That's right. Yeah, that's a good example.
In their Believe in Something campaign, why they survived. I mean, Nike's purpose is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. And their alignment with empowerment gave them confidence to weather the backlash. Sales and stocks prices soared, and after the campaign, proving deep alignment with their core audience. So they took a risk, but it was aligned with their purpose. So they stood by what they did. And brands that stick to their purpose, even in polarizing times, can emerge stronger because authenticity resonates with their base.
Yeah. So here's the key takeaway. Short-term ROI is pretty easy to measure, but it doesn't capture the full value of emotional connection. So if you want marketing that lasts, you need a long-term lens with your data. So one that proves purpose isn't just, good ethics, it's good economics. That's it for today's show. Thanks again for listening to the Bliss Business Podcast.